This oval design makes an ideal dinner table centerpiece. The arrangement is built from a central radiating point to a low height, allowing guests to see over the floral decoration. Complementary flower colours and contrasting foliage textures, combined with the bold central sunflowers, give this design impact and depth. Harmonious balance such as this is vital in an arrangement that will be viewed from all sides. To achieve this, keep rotating the arrangement as you work, and check the overall elongated oval shape frequently. Place the foam into the container and mark a point about 5 centimetres above the container's edge so you can cut it to the right height. Shape the top edges so you have the maximum surface area to put your foliage and flowers into. Drop it on top of the water, which should be deeper than the height of the foam, and let the water soak in. Don't hold it under, or you might get airlocks or air bubbles in the block that will reduce the life of the plants in the display. Soaking takes about a minute, and when it's done, take your block out and place it back into the container. Tape it from corner to corner with pot tape, running the tape over and under and sticking the tape back onto itself so it sticks securely. Use rosemary to establish the display's outline. Clean the leaves from the ends of the stems and strip off some of the bark so you can push the stem into the foam easily. The first piece goes into one of the short sides of the foam. Measure another piece of rosemary to the same length as the first and insert it opposite the first. These two pieces set the length for the long axis of the oval. Make sure the stems angle down towards the table. This will help hide your container. The next two pieces are put into the long sides of the design. These mustn't be too long because they define the short axis of the oval. Again, angle these down onto the table. Now put the next longish piece into the design. It goes into place alongside the first piece but is slightly shorter. Match that with another diagonally opposite. The next piece, which goes on the other side of the first piece, will be shorter still. Place another stem the same length diagonally opposite it. Position a piece upright in the centre of the cross shape to set the height. This mustn't be too tall because you're going to use this as a table centre display. Then above your first line of plant material, insert a slightly shorter piece, which will help give the profile. Now carry on around the container at the lowest level to set the outline of the base of the design. Now add in some conifer. This is going to help make the outline more solid. It also helps to cover your container. Cut the pieces of conifer to similar lengths or slightly shorter than the rosemary and insert alongside the rosemary pieces. Strip the foliage off the bottom of the conifer so the stems are nice and clean, and cut the stems at an angle to make insertion easier. Continue adding bulk to the height and length of the design with bushy, shiny-leaved viburnum. Cut several different lengths of the viburnum in advance, including some shorter pieces to use towards the centre of the design. Insert them between the pieces of rosemary and conifer. You can enhance the colour scheme by leaving some of the flowers on the viburnum. Place it right the way through the length of the design. This not only helps to fill it out, but also adds a different texture. Eucalyptus is a similar shaped leaf to the viburnum, but has a more matte texture. Work pieces of eucalyptus through the design in the same manner as for the viburnum, adding to the front and back as well as the central part of the design. Use begonia leaves to serve as a guide for the placement of the focal flowers. Run these focal point leaves through the design in a zigzag. Begonia has a softish stem, so it needs to be pushed in from the base of the stem. The first flowers are cream lisianthus. Remove some of the lower leaves and snip off lengths of blooms known as breaks to use. Measure the stems as you go and stagger them through the design in a zigzag either side of the long axis. Measuring stems as you go, add tulips through the length of the design in a zigzag pattern, either side of the long axis at quite a low angle, but within the foliage outline. Support the stem when you're removing tulip leaves because you could break the stem at the point where the leaf is joined. Push the stems in at a low angle within the foliage outline, supporting them as necessary and holding them close to the base of the stem to avoid breaking them. The largest blooms, the sunflowers, go into the middle of the design. Place the central bloom first, then add others following the pattern of the begonia focal leaves you inserted earlier. The central top flower is slightly proud of the foliage outline, but not so high up that the stem can be seen. Trim off the lower leaves and remove any leaves that have holes in them. Cut the stem short and set the flowers in place in the zigzag pattern established earlier. When you've placed your main flowers, you can see where there are still spaces. Additional tulips can add extra colour and help unify the design. Now put in some freesias to finish off. Use these right the way through the middle in between the tulips. Some of the little buds look good too. Remove any damaged blooms and run the freesias through the design so that you have an even spread of them, and continue to look for gaps which you can plug. Make sure the design is well balanced, moving blooms as necessary, but don't overcrowd the display. More lisianthus can also help fill in any bare regions, but don't overdo it because you want the sunflowers, surrounded by your other blooms and the carefully built up foliage, to make a strong statement. Remember to water the finished arrangement every day so it'll last as long as possible.